In this lecture, I will be explaining about the MPEG. So before going directly into the MPEG compression principle, as a first part of the lecture of MPEG, we will be discussing about the basic principle of how the MPEG compression is done. That is, we will be using the temporal redundancy technique and different types of frames which is used in MPEG compression, and also about the decomposition of video sequence in layers. So these are the three sections we will be dealing in the part 1 lecture of MPEG. So first and foremost, understand that this moving pictures expert group, it is meant for moving pictures and associated sound in digital format. So after the JPEG, there was a need for the compression algorithm for moving pictures. So several experts from all these industries, they formed a group which is called as Motion Picture Experts Group. So it has got the same guidelines as that of JPEG. The first outcome was a standard of MPEG-1. This was basically meant for storage of live video and stereo sound on CD-ROM, and the compression algorithm was called as Musicam, and it consists of three distinct parts, that is for the audio, video and also for the multiplex structure. But the standards of MPEG-1, it did not satisfy the digital needs. That is, it does not take into account the interlaced picture scanning technique or evolution towards high definition television. So there was a need to redefine this MPEG-1 standard. So basically we will be studying first of all the features of MPEG-2. So MPEG-2, it has got these standards, that is audio and video coding was dealt separately, and system, another standard was there for defining the streams or the decompositions of the MPEG video sequence which we will be seeing, and also it supported the HDTV system, and it was supported by the Digital Video Broadcasting Committee. So it became a standard for compression of moving pictures. Now the basic principle, it is same as that of the lossy JPEG, that is to which the new features will be added. So a technique called as prediction with movement compensation was used. So what we did was we considered moving pictures, some preceding pictures, subsequent pictures, and what was common in them, or we went to predict some movement compensation. So that difference only we was going to send. So minimum additional information we are going to send, which is going to represent the difference. So thus we are going to compress, we are going to use less and less bits for transmission. So it requires obviously MPEG encoders and decoders, and the MPEG encoder, it is going to be complex. Why? Because we need a motion estimator. So this is going to determine the performance of the encoder. But in decoder, you can observe when we study the block diagram, decoder does not require the motion estimator, so it is going to be more simple. Now the practical realization of encoder. As I told, the encoder, we require some motion estimation and compensation to be performed. So the practical realization of encoder is dependent upon all these factors. And when we are considering about decoding, there is no requirement of motion estimation. So the circuit is going to be more simple. But however, we require some specialized hardware in the case of decoding, because we are going to deal with moving pictures and decoding has to be established in real time. So at what time we are transmitting, that time itself we have to decode the pictures also. Some specialized hardware must be present in decoder also. So when we are viewing the principle of how the MPEG is going to take place, suppose we can see that a video can be viewed as a sequence of image stacked in time dimension, and since the frame rate of a moving picture, it is going to be very much high, and the camera parameters, they are not going to change rapidly, the contents of the frame, they are going to be similar. Okay, so there is temporal redundancy. This is being exploited in the compression technique. So there is no need for transmitting all the frames. Which frame is going to be different or where the change has occurred, that you can compress and send. So we will be having low entropy, that is average information which we are going to transmit. is now going to be very low. So a large compression can be achieved. For example, you consider these two frames. Is there any difference in these two frames? Only the sun has changed the position. So either we can use the spatial redundancy like we employed in the JPEG. So JPEG compression we have already seen. Or you can employ the temporal redundancy or interframe coding. This is the one we will be employing in MPEG. So only the sun has changed the position between the frame. So only the difference between those two frames now we are going to compress. We are going to do some predictions of the motion estimation. Only that we are going to compress and send. So we are going to exploit temporal redundancy. Unlike the spatial redundancy in JPEG, here we exploit interframe coding, that is temporal redundancy. So the strong correlation between the successive picture is being exploited, that is the prediction with movement compensation. Okay, so what we are going to do is that we are going to deduce most of the pictures of a sequence from the preceding and even subsequent pictures with the minimum of additional information representing the differences between the pictures. So this operation only we are going to do, that is the movement or the motion estimator. So this only is going to decide our performance of the encoder. So these are the two basic principles which you should understand, that is a motion estimation and motion compensation. So this we will deal in detail when we are seeing in the MPEG encoding section. So now understand that these two operations are going to take place, that is motion estimation, where we are operation of predicting the movement, what movement has occurred. So which frame there is a difference. For example, in the example we have seen that the sun has changed its position. So that we have to estimate, we have to predict it. So that is not going to give an accurate value, it is just an estimation. For that we have to perform some compensation, that is called as motion compensation. So what difference is there that we have to indicate? That is a motion compensation. So these two terms we have to deal when we are studying the MPEG encoding. So understand now that there are two principles which is taking place in MPEG, that is one is motion estimation and another one is motion compensation. Now in order to do all these MPEG coding, we have to deal with three types of pictures. So first type is the intra-coded pictures. That is, there we are going to employ the same principle as that of JPEG. That is, without considering the other frame, we are going to individually encode a frame like in JPEG. So I pictures or the intra frame, they are coded without reference to other pictures. They contain all the information necessary for their construction by the decoder. And they are the essential entry points in a video sequence. So when you are observing a frame, the first frame which you can find will always be a I frame. So there is a I frame at the entry point, and these type of frame they are relatively used frequently. But the compression rate of such I pictures, it is relatively low, and it is comparable to JPEG coded picture of a similar resolution. So when you look at the example, you will understand the type of pictures. And another type is the P frames, that is a P pictures. Now unlike the I frame that is coded independently, the other two type of pictures, that is a P pictures and B pictures, they are coded in relation with the other picture. For example, in the case of P picture, it is coded by the preceding I or P picture by using the motion compensated prediction. But the problem is we are going this to use this particular P picture further also. That is how the P picture is coded from the preceding I or P picture. So if we have predicted a wrong P picture, the error is going to get propagated. So the number of P frames, it is going to be limited to avoid the error propagation. And when we are comparing with I picture, the compression rate of P picture, it is going to be higher. So these are the characteristics of the P frames. And next one is the B frame. Here the B frame contents, they are predicted using the search regions in both the past and the future frames. As such, B frames are not used for predicting the other frames, so error do not get propagated, and it offers the highest compression rate. So understand that there are three type of frames: I frame, P frame and B frame. I frame, it is a intra-coded frame, that is, it is coded independently, same technique as that of JPEG, whereas P frame, we will code it from the preceding I frame or P frame, and it will go to propagate the errors. And B frame, it is predicted by using both the past and future frames, that is I and P frames. So B pictures do not propagate the coding errors because they are not used for predicting the other frames. So we can see an example. So suppose if you are considering in the example, you can see that we have classified the frames as I, B and P. Okay, so depending upon the encoder which we are using or the complexity of our MPEG profile, we can code either only I frames, or we can code I and P, or we can code all the three frames. Okay, so depending upon the complexity of MPEG compression, we need to decide which all frames we are going to encode. So as you can see in the figure, there are I frames, B frames and P frames. So when you are looking at an iframe, that is the entry point to a frame. So at the starting, always we will be having an iframe, and that is going to be coded independently, same steps as that of JPEG. But when you are considering the case of say P frame will be coded with respect to the preceding iframe or a preceding P frame. Look at the P7, it will be coded with respect to preceding say P4 frame. So if error is there, it is going to get propagated in case of P frame. Consider the case of B frame, it is being coded with respect to the preceding and succeeding frame. For example, B2, it is coded with the help of I1 frame and also P4 frame. So this is how the coding is being done for the three type of frames. And we can define now two parameters, that is M and N, which is going to describe the succession of I, P and B pictures. So M, we can say it is the distance between successive P pictures or between P and its immediately preceding I frame. This is a definition for parameter M. So if you are looking at the figure, M is equal to 3, that is the distance between P and the immediately preceding I frame, or even distance between two P frame, that is also going to be 3 in this case. And N is the distance between the successive I pictures. So it defines a group of pictures. GOP we call it N. So N is 12 in this particular case. So you can see the distance between the I pictures, it is going to be 12. So if you are looking again at this particular example where M is equal to 3 and N is equal to 12, and if we go on to find the compression rate, we can see for I pictures it is 8.33%, 1 by 12. For P pictures it is 25%, and for B pictures it is 66. So what is the conclusion you can draw from this is that the B pictures, they have got the higher compression rate, and it is the one which is being used more frequently. So the more frequently used frame, that is in this case it is B frame, it is having the higher compression rate. So that is what we have explained in the features of B frame. And the lowest compression rate, it is will be for the I picture, that is used lesser frequently in this example. So generally we have to maintain these particular values, that is M is equal to 3 and N is equal to 12, in order to obtain a satisfactory video quality. So generally we keep these values, and it gives a bit rate of approximately 1.15 MB per second, megabits per second. So this is a general pattern we keep for the MPEG compression. So there are three type of frame, and usually we choose a value of M is equal to 3 and N is equal to 12. So reordering the picture. So we have to understand sometimes there is a need to reorder the pictures, that is we have to reorder these frames. So in the example you have seen the most common case, that is for M is equal to 3 and for N is equal to 12. So, and we have also seen about the correspondence between the original picture number and its coded type. So this was the correspondence which we have made. So this is the relevance of the original picture number and its coded type. So here you can see the iframe is used here 1 times and 2 for the bidirectional frame. Again third frame it is a B frame. But what we have to take care is that in what order we are encoding and what order we are decoding. So after we decode we need to get the same sequence. So if we are having such a sequence, sometimes it becomes necessary to reorder these frame pictures. Okay, that is in order to encode a bidirectional picture, both the encoder and decoder will need the I or P preceding picture and the I or P subsequent picture. So this requires reordering of the original picture sequence. So what we are going to do, we are going to take this sequence and we are going to reorder it. So as you can see, I have reordered. So first one, I have to keep it as a iframe itself. Again, before the B, we should have what sufficient I or P frame. So this 4P, we are going to reorder. It is going to come before this 2B. And again, we are having two bidirectional pictures. Again, before the 5B, we are going to reorder, that is 7P we are going to keep. So likewise, the reordering has to be done. That is for coding of B picture, both the encoder and decoder, it should have a sufficient number of preceding or subsequent I or P pictures. So in this order, we can do only such a reordering, that is I frame has to come first. Then before the B frame, it is good to have a P frame also. So likewise, we have reordered the picture frames. So this is a reason in the general block diagram of the MPEG encoder and decoder, you can observe that you will be having a statement as reordering of the pictures. It is necessary to reorder the picture. Again, next one you can see the MPEG video sequencing layer. That is, MPEG defines a hierarchy of layers within a video sequence, and each of these layers has specific function in the MPEG process. So first highest layer. So this layer we are telling to understand the concept of where the compression is actually going to take place. Okay, or where our frame picture is actually. So first one is sequence, that is the highest layer. That is, we are going to say all the parameters, basically what all characteristics or parameters are there in our video that we are going to state in the highest layer, that is our sequence. Then you already are familiar with the term group of pictures, that is the N. That is, we have seen the example for M is equal to 3, N is equal to 12. So N represents a group of pictures. So there our example for N was 12. So that is a group of picture frames where we are going to have the I, P and B frames. Next, we will be having the next layer, that is the picture layer. So first one sequence, second one group of picture. Then picture means either it can be I frame, P frame or B frame. So that is the picture layer. Then afterwards you can have macro block. So macro block, slice, macro block and block. So after we have decided about the type of frame, that is a picture elementary display frame, then we will be having slice before a macro block. So usually after picture frame we come to the concept of macro block and block, but slice can be called as a continuous space of macro blocks that can be used for synchronization or addressing purposes, etc. So the slice can also be called as a continuous form of macro blocks, which is mainly used for synchronization between the macro block. Then we come to the macro block. So here in the macro block only we will be performing the operation of motion compensation, motion estimation, etc. So a macro block, it will be generally represented as such. And again further decomposition we will consider the block 8 cross 8 pixel where the DCT is going to take place. And in this macro block usually we perform the MPEG motion compensation, estimations, etc. So slice, macro block and a block. And in the case of the macro block where we are going to actually start doing our MPEG compression, that is between the two frames we are going to consider the level of the macro block, which has a size of 16 cross 16 pixels, and it is made up of 4 block of luminance and 2 block of chrominance covering the same area. That is, we require only smaller blocks of chrominance because of the sensitivity of human eye. So we require 4 block of luminance and 2 block of chrominance. That is one for CR and another for CB. So this is where we are going to start our MPEG compression.